What's up guys, Zanbono here, and this is week 3 of our franchise mode where we did a fantasy draft at the Miami Dolphins, and here in week 3 we're going to be playing against the Cleveland Browns, and this Browns team's actually pretty good. There's going to be a couple interesting matchups here. You're going to see Julio Jones going against Richard Sherman on the outside, and also you're going to see two rookie quarterbacks dueling it out. The Browns here have Carson Wentz, and on the first play of the game I was able to create a fumble after they had gotten a big gain down the field. I was getting a little nervous when they made that throw. I was thinking we're off to a bad start. But we were able to jar the ball loose and get the ball back to ourselves. So now we're going to be moving down the field, but we had a couple drop passes here that forced us to punt the ball away. So they're going to get the ball right back, but we had a great punt. We pinned them down on the 4-yard line. So I brought heavy pressure, and I was able to get to Carson Wentz right around the feet there and secure the safety. So we got off to a pretty hot start, and we got the ball back. Now, you're going to notice a lot in this game. I did try to bump these runs to the outside. My runs up the middle weren't working as well as I would have liked, so I tried to do a lot of quick tosses and get Jamal Charles out in space because he has great speed, and he's really elusive, and he works better to the outside than he does up the middle between the tackles. So I threw a lot of pitches out there to him, and he has a pretty good game here. But this game's kind of crazy. There's a lot of weird moments where the game maybe glitched up a little bit and had some goofy moments, or a lot of back and forth scoring where you never really knew who was going to end up winning the game. So you can see we came down with a pretty contested catch there. I noticed on this play here that B was wide open, but I didn't see it until I rewatched the film. But I was still able to find my man there in the end zone for the touchdown, so it all worked out okay. But because it's only 8-0 here, I decided to go for 2 points and try and make it a 10-0 game, make it a 2-possession game, and if they had a field goal and a touchdown, they wouldn't be able to take the lead against my 9 points. And I came up there with the 2-point conversion on my favorite play to Deion Sims with the PA Power O. Now, you're going to notice that they try to run the ball against me a lot here, this Browns team does, and it got to the point where I felt like I had a pretty good idea of whether or not they were going to run or they were going to pass on almost every single play, but for some reason, I just couldn't do anything about it. Their guys were just getting wide open deep down the field. They weren't throwing a lot of short routes. They were throwing a lot just for 20, 25-yard chunks. And the running game was working pretty well. I have pretty good front seven, so you'd think I'd be able to stop it better than I was, but I just felt like they were pretty effective on offense. So we got the ball back here again. We're starting to move down the field a little bit, and then this weird thing happens here where I'm trying to scramble with Boykin, and for some reason he just randomly pulled up and pump faked. And that's happened to me a few times, and obviously that's going to slow you down and slow down your momentum, and it allowed me to get caught from behind and fumble the ball, which I felt was pretty frustrating. I don't know why that keeps happening to me, but I guess maybe it's just a little kink in the game or something. I'm not quite sure, but I just feel like oftentimes when I try to scramble, my guy doesn't react quick enough, or he gets caught from behind too easily, or he just kind of starts pump faking a lot, and I get sacked quite often because of it. So I'm still trying to figure out more of how I want to successfully scramble in this game. But back to this drive, we stopped them there on 3 consecutive running plays and forced them to kick a field goal, so we are now up 10-3. So we get the ball back here, and we are able to complete a real quick slant route there to, I believe, Julio Jones. But this next play, I had another one of those weird moments where I was trying to throw to X, who's running this deep in route here. He was pretty wide open, as you can see, but because I threw on the run, I was about to get sacked. I was just trying to get rid of the ball. I ended up throwing it significantly short of the receiver, and it was picked off pretty easily. I felt kind of dumb after the play, but I guess those are just moments that happen, and not much you can do about it. So Ndamukong Suh kind of whiffed there on the ankle tackle and allowed them to get 5 yards. So we now have a 3rd and short here, just outside of the red zone, where Carson Wentz is able to deliver a strike. I don't know how they didn't score the touchdown there. A little bit too much extra movement down the field by the tight end, but it lines them up there on the 1-yard line, and they are going to be able to just punch this one in pretty easily with Jay Ajayi, their running back. So Ajayi is going to get a bunch of carries in this game, as you'll see. But we are now back on offense, where the game is now tied up, and there's a lot of pressure coming at me with Boykin. Another thing I've noticed about this game in Madden 17 is I feel like I get a lot of pressure on me really quickly, but I have trouble creating pressure, and I know you guys have probably heard me say that in a few videos. And here you can see I tried to go for a long shot down the field to Julio, but just overshot him by a hair. But I feel like I struggled to get pressure nearly as quickly as they get it on me. And I have a really good offensive line. If you look at them, I believe I have Marshall Yanda and Zach Martin as my 2 guards, 2 of the best guards in the NFL. And I mean, I just have a pretty good offensive line in general. I think they're all at least upper 80s to low 90 overalls, all my guys. Jason Peters, I think, is my left tackle. I guess you would just think that they'd be more successful at blocking than they really are. I have trouble sometimes in the run game actually getting a push. Here you can see I went for another deep ball to Julio, but Sherman's all over him and knocks the ball out at the last second with a little tomahawk motion there. So we're going to try another play action pass, and pretty off the mark. Boykin is only a 63 overall. I picked him up for the exciting factor, the fact he can run a little bit and has a heavy throw power. So I went for it on 4th down because there was not very much time left in the half, and I was hoping maybe I could just let some clock run off or get a few yards and pick up the first. But unfortunately, I was sacked again because, like I said, they do bring heavy pressure on me quite often in this game. So they got the ball with 7 seconds left, 5 yards outside of the red zone, and Wentz is going to deliver a pretty awesome pass here, and they managed to get out of bounds at literally the last second with 1 second left on the clock to set them up for a chip shot field goal going into halftime. So right here, he is going to bang this through the uprights and send this game to halftime with a 3-point difference when we are down by 3 points. So this is the first time I think we've trailed at halftime yet this season. So we're going to open this up with a nice quick toss, like I told you I've been liking to do. The juke motion was a little goofy there, but I was able to break a couple tackles and pick up some yards to the outside with Jamal Charles. But the second half is where Charles really starts to go off. Now, that we were able to pick up the first down there on a pretty short yardage, but Boykin, you can see he's getting that heavy pressure because of the screen, but he's able to slip the ball out to Charles, and Charles is just so fast and able to pick up so many yards, but he fumbles the ball and the Browns recover. So all of that hard work and that great play for nothing. So we gained all those yards and they get the ball right back. So now we're down by 3 and they have the ball. So I'm not going to lie, I was actually getting a little worried here. That flag, by the way, is for holding, so it ends up not standing. That sack was from Ndamukong Suh. We finally got some pressure on Carson Wentz and forced a bad play there on 3rd and 6. So we made it 4th and I believe it was like 14. We got the ball back. So we're throwing another screen pass here. But what happened here was I noticed on the left side of the screen the corner was pressed. There was no safety help. And instead of throwing the screen, I felt the pressure and I was just looking at Julio's direction, tapped the button, and he was able to bring in the long touchdown, which gave me a little bit more breathing room and I felt more comfortable because Julio is a god. And then I went and shanked the extra point. So I still am trying to work out some of the kinks with the kicking here. I feel like I've gotten the hang of it for the most part, but I do miss a field goal or two. A lot of times it's from just not paying attention. I score a touchdown, I check my phone, or I check my laptop, and in the old games, I could pretty much just kick a field goal with my eyes closed, and I can't quite do that yet in this year, so I'm still trying to work out the kinks, but you can see I missed a couple pretty easy tackles there. I don't know what happened, especially with the second guy that just dove right past him. I thought I had lined that tackle up almost perfectly. I guess I didn't, and I just missed. Thomas Davis here took an incredible angle and was able to take down Jay Ajayi at the 2-yard line, or the 1-yard line, excuse me, and it lined them up for a short 1st and goal from the 1, though, and he was able to just dive through the end zone and pick up the touchdown. So we went from feeling a little comfortable with the Julio Jones long touchdown to back trailing at the end of the 3rd quarter. So we're going to go back to the old faithful play here, the little quick toss. This quick toss has worked wonders for me all game long, and Jamal Charles turns on the burners and bangs one home. Every time I felt a little uncomfortable because we're down, we get one big home run play, sets us up, and puts us back in the game and ahead. So the 4th quarter has started now, and we're only up by 3 points, and Carson Wentz starts to turn it on here and just deal a little bit. He played a pretty incredible game, I'm not going to lie. There's times I got a little nervous because I didn't think he would be playing as well as he did, and we had some silly moments where we just couldn't make some tackles, and we couldn't get bodies on bodies out there on the edges, but Larry Fitzgerald, like as you see there, he had 27 yards after the catch on that play. Carson Wentz is still dealing, and we're laying some good hits, but they're moving down the field way too easily for my likings. Jordan Cameron, the tight end there, he's been getting a lot of catches all game long on us. Jay Ajayi still pounding the rock. Like I said, they like to run the ball, and I was just having trouble, and so I tried doing this double A gap blitz formation, and it wasn't working for me as well as it had in the past. So here we are in the red zone on 3rd down, and we are still up by 3 points, so Carson Wentz has forever in the pocket, but just ends up throwing the ball away to the back of the end zone. I'm not exactly sure why. He probably had another good second or two left in the pocket to maybe wait and see if he could find someone open, but I guess he didn't want to risk the fumble or a sack, so he just threw the ball away, and they decided to settle for the field goal. It's kind of disrespectful to me that they gave number 2 to the kicker on the Browns, because everyone knows that number should be retired for the greatest player of all time, Johnny Manziel. So hopefully we can get that changed somehow. But Jamal Charles back out here with these quick tosses, and we're going to run a little play action here and dump it back off to Jamal Charles to pick up the short gain there on 2nd and 1. A lot of times on 2nd down, where it's like 2nd and inches or 2nd and 1, like you'll see here, I like to throw the ball. I'm not someone who likes to just line up on 2nd down with a halfback dive when we can easily convert, because I think most people expect that you're going to do something along those lines. So I like to run play actions and get people trying to guess that I'm running and maybe take a home run shot. Right there, we were able to give the ball to Jamal Charles, and he was able to make a dive from what seemed like the 3 or 4 yard line and jump on into the end zone and give us a lead. With 1:16 left here in the fourth quarter, the Browns are going to take over, and Carson Wentz is going to have to try and make a big drive, and I don't know what happened here. This is another one of those goofy plays where every time I switched to a player, they would just automatically dive. I wasn't pressing anything. I would just switch to the player, and they would just immediately dive to the ground. So that gave them one of the easiest touchdowns I've ever seen, and I was really frustrated at that moment. So we now have just under a minute left, and we have 6 timeouts, 3 for them, 3 for us. So this game could take a while still, even though we only have about 40 seconds. Now you can see I was playing it pretty conservatively here. I figured I'd just set up for the field goal and win the game, and Doxson got me a pretty big play there. I kind of wish I had been a little bit more aggressive in my play calling, but I wasn't, and I kind of regret it a little bit. I don't know why. I just felt like I was so scared to turn the ball over the way that they were moving down the field. So I was willing to risk overtime if I missed a field goal or if I wasn't able to get the touchdown. I figured I'd rather just go into overtime. And so here I lined up for the kick, and I thought I kicked it pretty much almost perfectly. I know it wasn't exactly perfect, but about as good as you're going to get for a 52-yard field goal, and maybe the wind pushed it left. I don't know what happened, but I just wasn't quite able to put it through. So here's the little animation they give you for the coin toss when you go out for overtime. We send out 2 captains. We have Boykin, the quarterback, and Derek Johnson, the linebacker, going out there for the coin toss. And we got pretty lucky here. We were able to win the coin toss, and everybody knows that overtime can pretty much be decided by a coin flip. So I played somewhat conservatively here in overtime as well, but I was willing to take a little bit more risk with my play calls and with the execution of the plays and trying to play a little bit more aggressively because I wasn't able to get it done there in the fourth quarter. So I'm running the plays I've been running all game long, giving the ball to Jamal Charles, giving him little screen passes. Right there was Justin Forsett because Charles has been running all game long and is probably pretty exhausted. So I'm trying to get the ball in the hands of my running backs and the people that I trust the most on this team. Even though Charles did cough up the ball earlier in this game, I figured that's probably an outlier, and he's been playing much better for me than pretty much anybody else on my team has been all game long. I got really nervous here on this 3rd and 14. Nobody was open, and that could have been ball game had I not been able to complete that pass, but I decided to risk it for the biscuit and scramble out there with Boykin, and he was able to pick up the first down, thankfully. And that was probably the biggest play of the game to me. Not any of the big home run touchdowns he scored, but that 3rd down conversion on 3rd and long with Boykin's feet. That's why I picked him up, even though he's only a 63 overall, because he can do things that other people on my team cannot. It's why we don't start Brandon Weeden. Brandon Weeden might have lost me this game because I don't think he could have converted that play. And there was nowhere to really throw it to. So Charles, you can see, is just banging all these yards out, just trying to get us down into the red zone. But then we have an injury timeout, and it turns out it's Jamal Charles. That one pretty much broke my heart. It doesn't get much worse than when the best player in your team gets hurt. I mean, we have Julio Jones, but we have, like I said, a 63 overall, throwing him the ball every play, so it's not the most reliable thing in the world. Justin Forsett here is coming back into the game, and he is able to punch it into the end zone and clinch up the game and give us a Week 3 win. Little dance there in the end zone to let everybody know who the real champ is. So you can see there by comparison, this was a rookie shootout, and Wentz probably got the better of me, honestly. I'm not going to lie. I thought he did really well. The little graph over there showed that the scoring was back and forth all game long. It was a really exciting game, but we were able to pull out the win here in Week 3. So next episode, we'll show you guys the Jamal Charles injury and how serious it ended up being. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like and feel free to subscribe. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next week.